Hello and welcome back to another Backflip Happy Hour. I'm Ryan Fring, co-creative director here at Backflip. Welcome to the Blue Room, aka my office. And joining me as always, we've got other co-creative director John Shoemaker over here. Hey, say hey, John.
Hey, yes, I turned the correct way. I was thinking about it. I was looking at my background, and then I had to think about where, and I did it.
You did it. I did not point the right way. You were planning a lot better. Got a lot of guitars back there. I feel like we got to talk about that every time you stream from home.
I know. These haven't even been played in a while. This one's missing a string.
Are you going to play them all today?
Yeah, all together.
Sweet. So this is a happy hour, and before we bring our guests in, we'll just talk quickly about what we have. Today I'm drinking this Ardbeg, Islay single malt Scotch whiskey, 10-year, love it. Super kind of smoky and earthy. It's so good. I can't wait to drink that. And then I of course have all the other things. I've got some Zoa energy, some water, some Clarb. I'm ridiculous. What do you got?
Well, because of the kind of cold and clammy, cloudy weather, I've got a pina colada with Bambara rum from Turks and Caicos.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Some generic cheapo pina colada mix and a very nice the dark rum in there.
Rum from the island
Rum
of
from
Turks
the
and
island.
Caicos. Cool. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring our guests in and say, hey guys, what's going on?
Hey
Hello.
guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so we got, let's see, up in the top left, we've got Marc Laudonio, and right above me, we've got Father Scott Jablonski. Thanks again for joining us, guys.
Sure thing.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, this is a happy hour. What do you guys got for me? What are you drinking?
Well, I have this beer here called the Farmer's Daughter from Lucette Brewery in Menominee, Wisconsin. It is a blonde ale brewed with spices. So, got a little coriander going on there and nice beer for a summer day.
Nice. I like that a lot. And Father, I have high hopes.
Well, so I'm the pastor in Cross Plains, and the local brewery here in town is Esser's. And so I have Esser's anniversary ale in my Polish stein that I got.
Whoa.
Got this fun action going on here. There's a backup. I also have this is my other favorite glass to drink beers out of. It's part of a baseball bat. Big brewers.
Yes.
And it's got my name on it just so nobody takes it. So this is my backup drinking option if I run out of room in my other stein or whatever. So
yeah, hopefully there's no other Father Scott Jablonskis roaming around looking for drink receptacles.
Yeah, it happens every now and then. Sometimes I'll even put it on on a chain. Sometimes when I was a kid, parents would put their kids on chains in malls just so they didn't.
No one did that. That's not true.
Also, if there's more than one person with oh, was this my baseball bat glass or was this your baseball bat glass?
Yeah, exactly.
I did get advertised those the other day, and I saw them, and I don't think they're actually bats that are used. They just use, similar bats, or they buy them from similar retailers, and then they cut them and make them into really cool drinking glasses.
I will say this, so whenever I finish a beer, I flip it as if I've hit a home run, and I run around.
A lot of running going on. That's awesome. So we are kind of talking today with some friends. We've known each other for a long time, and there's a lot of story there. But let's maybe just get kind of who you are, what you do, and then we can get into a little bit more about how we all know each other. How's that sound?
All right, I guess I'm going first. I grew up in Appleton and went to school at UW-Madison. It was there that I met Marc. We were RAs in the dorms together, and that was quite an experience. We won't share those stories publicly. But anyway, right after college, moved out to Colorado, and while I was out there, ended up kind of coming back to the Catholic Church, was somewhat unexpected for me. And at that point, thought, well, maybe I need to consider seminary, and entered the seminary, the Diocese of Madison. I spent a couple years in Rome, a couple years in the Twin Cities, and 1 year in Detroit, just to build all my street cred for all the inner city work I'm doing here in Cross Plains. But yeah, and then I've been the pastor here for about 10 months. Prior to that, I was in Lodi and Dane, Wisconsin, and prior to that, Watertown.
Is that a little sense of humor that I'm detecting over there? Are you allowed? You're a priest. Are you allowed to have a sense of humor?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I definitely, going from Detroit, where there's like not a single cow in the city that's alive, they're all slaughtered in burger form, to like places where the cow to person ratio is about 5-1. It's been a little bit of a transition, but it's a happy transition.
I would have loved to have been one of your guys' students when you guys were RAs. I can only imagine how ridiculous that was.
We did have some good times. That's for sure.
My favorite, if I can just say it, is when I go to visit Mark on his
You
floor.
may.
Yeah, it'd be when I go to visit Mark on his floor, and I would see applesauce all on the wall, and I was like, what's going on here? And then it dawned on me that there were some guys on his floor that were taking water balloon launchers and standing at one end of the hallway with apples and shooting them down into the hallway, probably 100 miles per hour. And Mark was not aware of that, in fact. So anyway, it was fun times, and you just want to make sure you didn't duck your head out the room at the wrong time. So
that's awesome. That sounds about par for the course. You sure Mark wasn't a part of the launching?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Nice. All right, Mark.
Yeah.
Who are you? What do you do?
So I grew up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where Ryan's from.
Woo!
Although I believe
kind
you were,
of.
Yeah, well, right. You were like the north side county-ish aspect. I was definitely more in the city. So, you know, the southeast Wisconsin area, but then I too came to Madison for school. And as Father Scott said, we met there and became pretty good friends. And I grew up, you know, not to get too far into it, but I grew up as a Lutheran and then was like an evangelical Protestant.
We're here to get into it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I just don't know, you know.
Give me the elevator pitch and then I'll dig in.
Sure.
You do the elevator pitch. Ryan will pull the alarm and the all stop emergency brake, and we will stay in that elevator together for a while.
That sounds slightly awkward, but okay. So yeah, I grew up as a Lutheran, and in high school became more of an evangelical Protestant Christian, and then kind of Father Scott and I kind of together we're wrestling through a lot of questions about just what does it mean to be Christian? What is the fullest way we can know and love God? What's the fullest way we can love other people? And long story short, the more we followed those questions, that eventually led us both to embrace Catholicism as this fullness of this vision of life and friendship with God and seeking to love others as best as possible. And so,
real quick, I did that first, and Mark followed me. I just want to clarify that I was for the trendsetter, and he just
became Catholic first.
Yeah, exactly. So
also,
it's much of a relationship. I more or less set the trend with everything, and Mark just follows me on everything. So it's a matter of time before he wears a black shirt, probably as a deacon.
So as you can see, Father Scott also exceeds me in the virtue of humility. Yeah, in any case, we were both in our early to mid 20s when we kind of were going down that journey. And I believe it was 2006, like spring of 06, when I officially became Catholic. And it was also later that year that I married my wife, Julie. And so we have 4 kids, and I worked at the cathedral parish. I worked at the cathedral parish, which is like downtown Madison, for about 13 years, doing similar work to what I'm doing right now as the director of faith formation with Father Scott at St. Francis Xavier. But I work downtown a lot worked a lot with young adults. One of the best things we did is something, I don't know, somewhat similar to this, where we called it Theology on Tap. We went to a bar once a month and had drinks and a speaker and just be able to talk about faith and life and the big questions and kind of cultivate some community amongst many other things I did there. But in any case, when Father Scott became the pastor at St. Francis Xavier a year ago in summer of 2020, he may have led the way, as he said, but then he comes crying to my doorstep saying, I need you. You got to come with me. We got to code. I need you to help me, make disciples of Jesus. And I was like, well, I got to consider that. But in truth, ever since we kind of walked that road of becoming Catholic together, we thought, hey, one day it would be super cool to be able to just partner in working together and trying to share the love of Jesus Christ with others. And so this opportunity kind of arose, and it's been a wild year. Obviously, this past year has been crazy with COVID dynamics and a little difficult to meet people here and there. But I don't know. I got to say, thinking back over the course of this last year, for as many challenges as there have been, I feel like the Lord has been good to us, and there's been a lot of good things we've been able to start. I'm very grateful for our friendship. I'm very grateful that we're able to do this together, and thank you guys for just talking to us about it all.
Yeah, no, and I do want to get to kind of the craziness of your conversion story, but I want to ask this live on air. How good of a boss is your best friend, Father Scott, and how good of an employee is your friend? Now, I know I've worked with Marc in various capacities. He's one of the most capable people I know, and I've loved working with him. But it can always be interesting, especially when there's kind of like a boss-employee dynamic. So yeah, let's awkwardly get into that and just live in that for a little while. Like, what's that like?
Well, along those lines, I actually thought we could do Marc's evaluation right here live.
Is that a Post-it note that you just pulled out?
It is. Yeah, we're gonna kind of take some notes here.
Yeah.
Well, it's I think I don't know. Marc can tell you what it's like working for me as a boss, but I think the way I always approach being a boss is really wanting to be the type of boss that I would want to work for. And I'm not perfect. I pray for me. I'm in need of constant growth as well. But I think the biggest thing is just trying to treat everybody, with respect and, communicate as best as you can. And obviously there was a friendship there between him and I before he started working here. But at the same time, I think just trying to, in a sense, kind of build a friendship with everybody that works with me. Obviously I have to still be in a position of authority on an occasion. But at the same time, I think the best work environments is where everybody is collaborating together as a team. Very much kind of like an athletic team. Maybe there's a captain on the team, and they have to kind of direct the plays or whatever. But obviously everybody has a valuable role to play, and I can't make a parish run by itself. And really, I didn't come crying to Marc, but I definitely encourage him to consider applying here. And between him and the rest of my staff, I'm just really, really grateful for everyone's contributions.
Good answer.
The captain doesn't necessarily need to be the best player.
He is, though, in this case.
Often.
This is why I was super excited about this chat.
I'm sorry to interrupt so rudely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Marc. What's it like with this captain?
Yeah, no, it's true, right? So I think this is certainly true in the church, and I would argue this probably carries over to other organizations as well. I would propose along the same lines that Father Scott mentioned. He used the analogy of like a captain, but I would say that there's a reason we call priests father in the Catholic Church, because they're supposed to be this father to this family, and the family of this parish community that he's kind of overseeing. And I think really the first way someone can live that out is with their staff, is to really be a father to that staff. And any good father knows there's going to be, like, what you want them to know is that you care about them and you respect them and you want to cultivate what's best for them and be on this mission together, although you're kind of heading it up. But as he said, at the same time, the buck stops with you, and sometimes you might have to discipline or what have you. But I think having that perspective is really helpful when you're a leader of trying to be the father of a family or the mother of a family, if you're a woman. And so I think Father Scott does that really well. He tries to be really intentional about that. And I'm grateful. As he said, stepping into this, there's neither he nor I knew, the rest of the staff that we were kind of entering into a relationship with, and some other new people came on, and it's because there's just so much stuff that we were trying to figure out, and so many things we were starting to try to build foundations with and people to get to know. The fact of the matter is, I feel like I spent a lot more time this year with other people, with like these two great women I work with, Molly and Lori. I spent a lot of time trying to get to know them and trying to collaborate with them in what we're doing in terms of faith formation. And I tried to get to know some of the other staff that were already there. And so I think it was a great gift that we both had a lot of new relationships to build and work to do so that we could kind of cultivate that. And, it's that's just been a really good dynamic. And I appreciate his leadership. I appreciate his straightforwardness. And I think, we're just having a clear vision of what we're trying to do and the mission we're trying to achieve in spreading the good news of Christ's love for people.
I recently saw a quote on the internet, so clearly it's a great quote, all about leadership. And some leaders want people to love them. Some leaders want them to fear them. And really, my whole thought is I want all my employees to be afraid of how much they love me. So really combining the. I'm just kidding. But no, I once again, it's been a joy having Marc working alongside of me and everything. And I think that that's really how. Obviously, in our Catholic faith tradition, really just Christian tradition, we really see servant leadership being at the forefront of all leadership. And I think really, seeing Jesus himself, like laying down his life for the good of others. And I think that really is a lot of how I try to approach things. But really, I think any of us who kind of are part of the Catholic tradition is, whenever we're in positions of leadership, how do we kind of give our life away for the good of those who are collaborating with us for the sake of mission? So I try to do that. I don't know if I'm super successful all the time, but it really is what I try to do. And once again, it's a great joy to have Marc alongside me.
It's tough. I imagine it's tough too. And we've worked with, lots of different Catholic groups and religious groups. And, occasionally we run into something where it's like, well, I prayed about this, so I think it should be this way. And it's difficult because it's like, well, I also have been praying about this project and I feel like it should go this way. And it's kind of like, okay, well, when we have these discussions, like prayer is not a reason because we could easily disagree on our interpretation of what we've experienced. But I'm curious, like with decision making, and you guys are kind of still like in a honeymoon, maybe kind of like on the of working together. You've been friends for so long that you probably know how to work through disagreements. But it's been fascinating for me to just go through this with John and Scott,
Brian's trying to make something happen here. He's trying to.
We're three equal partners, right?
We're going to end up somewhere here.
We're three equal partners, and we have to. Yeah. You just got to trust me. You got to wait a minute. We're three equal partners, and so correction can sometimes be disagreed with, right? Mm-hmm. I thought we should have done this, and we did this. Well, I disagree. I thought we should do this. But I think we've gotten, in the last 7 years, and maybe the last 4 years with Scott being a full partner, we've gotten a lot better at how we share and work through those disagreements. But it's always been unique because, again, we're now all equal partners. So somebody might just disagree with you, and we got to try to figure out how to sort that out. Like, how do you guys, here we go, how do you guys deal with that? Obviously, Father, you're the captain, you're the boss man. But like you said, you really got to lean on the strengths of your players and your teammates. Like, how do you guys kind of deal with that conflict resolution? Having a good personal relationship, but then also having that professional relationship.
Well, after we moved out to Colorado and Mark abandoned me out there after a month, we had to learn to work through a lot of things very quickly. We were going to move out there for a year together, and a month in, he moved back to marry his wife, which I can't fault him for. She's a very wonderful lady. But I think part of it is just knowing your own strengths and weaknesses, and having the humility to acknowledge that, like, I don't have every gift, and I know those areas that I'm strong in, and I think I'm leading out of those strengths, but then also the areas that I'm not as strong in. Turning whether to be to Mark or to other people who have more expertise in certain areas that I don't, and really just asking for their feedback. Once again, using the analogy of like a coach or whatever, like a sports team, with like a head coach of a football team, there's a reason he has somebody in charge of special teams and somebody in charge of the defense and the offense. He can't, be equally attentive to every single aspect of the team. And so I think, a good coach kind of knows his strengths and then puts good people in place to kind of deal with those other areas that he either just is not as strong in or doesn't have the time to deal with. And that's really what I've tried to do with our staff as best as I can. I've only been here 10 months and we're still kind of thinking through a lot of things. But, I think in that sense, obviously, at the end of the day, the buck does stop with me. I'm the one that ultimately has to make some decisions, and the responsibility falls with me. But I would be foolish not to ask Mark, what his thoughts are on things that he's got more expertise or experience than I do, or just he's more gifted in, or whatever. And likewise with a bunch of the other employees I have also.
I mean, I think there's an importance to just not to make too light of it, but there's an importance to just arbitrarily deciding who will make the final decision. Because like when you get a group of people together who are working on something, like you just can't go to like group consensus all the time because you often can't get to consensus. Right. So you just need to have somebody, and yes, it's important to have like, leadership experience, but sometimes like, and this kind of comes out when we're working with clients, sometimes we're just like, I just need somebody, I need a point person who's just like this. We'll just say which way we're going after all this group discussion. This is all good stuff. You can always sort of, again, like it doesn't always work this way, but you can always change your mind. You can always pivot if you made a decision and then you're like, never mind. Let's go with the other one, but just kind of getting over that hump of like, okay, we've got all these ideas circling around. What do we do?
Yeah, we like to cast lots a lot. That's very biblical.
And when you disagree, you like tear robes in half and stuff.
Something like that.
Stones are involved.
What was that?
I said stones are usually involved.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be the first one to cast it.
Yeah.
No.
You only know if somebody's really serious if they come in and they just
Yeah, a lot of emoting is happening.
One of the things, though, just with, once again, whether it be work relationships or wherever, I feel like upfront communication is really important, and to try to talk through things like right away as soon as you're aware of issues. And I get a chance to work with a lot of couples that are either preparing for marriage or they're struggling in their marriage, or maybe their marriage has failed. And one of the things I always find with that particular type of relationship is just, once again, how important communication is. And when communication begins to break down, or if it was never there in the first place, how difficult it is to have a strong marriage. And obviously, once again, work relationships a little bit different. But I do think, just trying to have open channels of communication all the time. And, one of the things I try to say is just, my office is always open. When you're aware of things, either in your own life or around the parish or whatever, like, let's just talk about it. And, throw out every idea we can, because once again, I don't have all the answers and nobody does. let's just kind of throw everything on the table and then try to like just make this wise decisions and discern like what is the best path forward. And then to your point, John, recognizing that we might even make some wrong decisions, and that's okay too. We can learn from those. And when we're aware of it, not being so kind of proud or kind of stuck to our ideas or attached to like, this was my idea, that we're not humble enough to just say, okay, I think at this point we need to pivot or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're muted, Ryan.
Oh, that hasn't happened because we're in Restream. It hasn't happened in a long time. We got some comments here. Grant McGurn says, Todd Plumley says hi. That's a fun, try to follow that.
Well, yeah, that's Grant is he's the office manager down at the Cathedral Parish downtown. He started working there not even a year before I left, and then Todd is like the maintenance supervisor downtown, and we used to have a good time. We used to have a lot of good conversations and things. So, man, hi Grant.
I also like to think that Grant is not saying hi himself. He's just like, oh, hey, Todd is saying hi.
Yeah. And second thought, Grant, forget you, man. Father Garrett, that is a bold declaration.
Yeah. So I feel like we got to have maybe a priest off with Father Garrett and Father Scott here. These are fighting words.
Yeah.
Well, is that a greater than? Is that a greater than sign, or is that a leads to?
Yeah. Mark has to listen to Father Scott, I think is what it says.
I guess they're both true,
So Father Garrett, though, he's just a little contentious right now because we're going to be in this baking competition together.
Oh, that's
really?
Right. Yeah, on Sunday. At least.
I'm actually I'm baking with Ryan's wife, Monica, on Sunday here. And I'm going to be baking bread and baking cake, and I'm going to be this baking extraordinaire. And
what is that for?
It's for fun.
It's a fundraiser, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
for what?
We're putting the fun back in fundraiser, in fact. We're going to use that line for the last 20 minutes, by the way. It's for the CDMF, the Catholic Diocese of Madison Foundation or something like that. But
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
so if it was a brat making competition, Father Garrett would beat me because he's used to processing meats and putting them in skins or something. I don't know, however you make sausage. But
natural casing.
Yeah, that checks out. Put them in skins.
Baking though, I think we're on equal footing.
Oh, this is great. Here we go. We got some more comments, but I got to throw this up. Monica says, "Bring it Sunday, Garrett." So the gauntlet was already thrown, but now just other gauntlets are being thrown as well. So that's fantastic.
It was Garrett's birthday though yesterday, so we should take it easy on him.
Okay.
Oh, happy birthday! What are you talking about? It was yesterday. This is today.
Yeah,
We're
moving on.
Athena says, "Converts rock." That's true.
Oh, Athena, yeah.
Thanks, Athena. Yeah, I don't know if we've ever actually met, but once again, I think that your husband and I worked together. We valet parked cars back in college, and that was quite an experience. One of my great college jobs. I had a couple.
Okay, Father Scott has had
awesome.
Father Scott by far has the best collection of random jobs that anyone's ever had. So that's one of them. He used to sell used cars, but
wait a second. Father Scott, the pastor, used to sell used cars. Is there a joke in there somewhere?
The joke was I had to do that to make a living for a
no.
So, yeah.
You want to know his best job that he's ever had? So
Yes.
we're in college, or maybe I may have even already graduated, but we were still living down on campus and everything. And I think he was still in college. And he was just trying to find some job, any job. And he was always going back and forth between.
Not any job. I was looking for very particular, high skilled jobs.
Yeah. Well, because the worst job he ever had was he was a Permar security guy at Camp Randall. And one day he comes home, he's like, oh my gosh, they got me working the overnight shift guarding the ESPN truck. He had to work from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. guarding the ESPN truck for game day, and then come home and sleep for 2 hours and then go back and work the game. And we're just
oh, wow.
But then he finds, but the best job, he comes home, he's like, I think I'm going to apply for this job. I'm like, what is it? He's like, the freshman girls volleyball coach at Madison West High School. I'm like, you literally never coached anything or played volleyball in any sort of organized way in your life. Why are you doing this? He's like, I'm just going to try. 2 days later, he comes home. So I got the job. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Life experience.
I don't know how he got the job but like, I don't know. Those girls seem to somehow learn a thing or two from you. So way to go.
Yeah, it's all about bumping, setting, and spiking. So I set myself up in the interview, and then I spiked it. I don't know. It's a dumb analogy.
Did you last the whole season? Like, did you guys win any games?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, actually. My goal going into the draft was, their tryouts. I was like, all right, I need some tall women to like kind of stand in the front and do what you do at the front. And then
already sounds like you know a lot about volleyball.
This is terrible. I can't believe we're saying this on camera. I actually had to go to the Madison Public Library and like buy a rent a VHS tape on. They still use VHS. I can't even talk. VHS back then, and rent a VHS tape on like the rules of volleyball.
Couldn't you just have found a PDF?
Yeah.
Like,
so
basically,
you
need like a VHS player.
Basically, this is like the substitute teacher comes in, and it's just movie day, like every day of class. So Father Scott comes in. He's just like, all right, team, I'm popping in a movie. Let's pay attention.
The best part though is the kids loved me. We were pretty awesome. But I found out at the end of the season, like tons of people had applied for this job, and they all had like way more qualifications than I did. And I still to this day I don't know what happened. Like I think the person who hired me, like just like grabbed the wrong application when he was like making a phone call. He meant to call somebody else. But the conversation was like too late, and he just was like committed or something.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Ooh, this is an important question because this is a happy hour. So Father Garrett asked, what is everybody drinking? So I mentioned I have this Ardbeg Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. It's very good. It's out. I need to get some more. What are you guys drinking?
Cheap pina colada mix with Bambara dark rum from Turks and Caicos.
How do you pronounce that? Bambara.
It's actually two R, so it might be Bambara.
Bambara. Yes. That checks out.
Boom.
All right.
Actually, it's probably Bombara.
Bombara.
You should
We
say
could
that
do a whole bit on this.
behind you.
What's that?
Oh yeah. Well,
You should say that while you're playing the guitars are hanging up behind you.
Let me get the charango.
All right, Father, what are you drinking? Oh, this has got like a little thing in it.
Yeah, so once again, I have the local beer from Cross Plains here, Esther's. It's Esther's anniversary special in the spectacular Polska beer stein here. So really
That's pretty magical. Yeah.
It's a little weird drinking a German beer in a Polish mug. We have kind of contentious history between the two countries. But
does it taste different?
I'm really trying to put that into practice here.
Tolerance.
I'm also repping a not quite as local, but somewhat local brewery. Lucette is up in Menominee, Wisconsin, and this is their Farmer's Daughter, which is a blonde ale with some spices. So we got some coriander. It's nice and refreshing after you mow your lawn or something.
Yeah, which I was going to try to do today. And it's been raining, so that's great.
Yeah, I know.
We got a couple other comments here. From Max Rettler. Curious your thoughts on Tootsie Roll. Sounds like there's probably like a bad story you can't talk about behind this, which is great. Unless it's a dance. Like you dancing.
That's exactly what it is, in fact.
Yeah. See, I know you.
Like 2 weeks ago, the staff member's wedding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Molly, my coworker Molly, got married a couple weeks ago, and we were at her wedding. And
congrats, Molly.
So Ryan, I don't know. I mean, I know you're a few years younger than me, and even though you grew up in Kenosha, it was a little bit different. But I grew up in a part of Kenosha where, when we had the McKinley Junior High socials in those early to mid '90s, the Tootsie Roll was a classic dance that we would get going. So,
absolutely,
between that and the percolator and the Harlem Shake.
You know what time it is? It's time for the percolator.
Indeed. Indeed, my friend. Oh man, right. I love it. Yes. You got those K-Town vibes for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm just curious to know, Mark, if you ever saw this is very specific. This talk by John Campbell at St. Paul's, where he used that reference and
Which
changed
one?
it to "It's time for the speculator."
Oh my
and he like danced in like a. That's what I always think of when I hear
No,
that.
I don't know of that, but that is I'm quite. What's happening right now?
Is that
Do you guys want to learn how to do the Tootsie Roll? Let's see.
Wow, he's really getting very deliberate with that.
This is it's like a TikTok video. Like, all right,
Yeah.
turn your legs. Here we go. Ready?
He's just got to do it. He's still a little. That's a little too. That's not fluid enough, man. I mean, it's the right.
Is
idea.
it fluid?
Yeah, it's got to be a little more fluid.
Okay. I got a wedding to go to tomorrow, so I gotta learn how to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said please do. Please make it awesome.
That's exactly what he said. Yeah.
I really hope your parishioners are joining and enjoying this.
I think Mark should become the Grand Knight for the Knights of Columbus, and he can sell Tootsie Rolls and do the Tootsie Roll
while doing the Tootsie Roll.
Oh wow!
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that's a good marketing ploy, but
that's amazing. There you go.
So speaking of
thank you, Max.
I just want to share this publicly as well. This last weekend, I decided to do the definitive priest fast food taste test.
It's a terrible idea.
So within 24 hours,
the definitive who, what?
The definitive priest test. No, I can't say this. Definitive priest fast food taste test. So within 24 hours, I went to McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and Culver's, and got a burger, a small fry, and a cola.
Did that come with a doctor's visit?
I know. I mean, it's like
3 days to flush my system out. So
I assume your system flushed immediately.
Now, yeah. Did you?
I want everyone to know.
Did you start with the plan?
Culver's is the best burger. McDonald's is the best fry, and they also have the best Coke. And that's coming from a priest. And that's really the grace of ordination that's like kind of touched my taste bud. So clearly this is like the how it is. I mean, it's truth. It's fact.
Okay,
you're also the guy who studied in Rome and had all that Italian food and was like, I just need a burger. I just need some good Wisconsin food.
It's true. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a very refined palate, as you can tell.
That's really great if it wasn't so inaccurate. As a fast food connoisseur, or no, actually I meant common sewer is how you okay, anyway. I agree, Coke from McDonald's. Yeah, they put drugs in that or something. That's amazing. McDonald's fries are pretty good, but they're good for like 5 seconds. And then they're the worst. They're the bottom of the pile.
They're the worst if they're cold, yeah.
Burger King has a pretty good fry game.
Oh, please. Oh boy.
I don't remember it, but Burger King was my favorite fries, like through high school and college.
It's like this like secret
100%.
Unknown. And then did Wendy's get any points from you?
No, I actually took 2 bites of the Wendy's burger and I couldn't even eat it. It was that bad.
It's because it was the 4th burger.
That's probably true, in fact. But anyway, just once again, just public service I provided for everybody. I just wanted to share those results.
I just want you to know you could have arrived at those answers without having to do that entire thing. I think it's just common knowledge. John,
without needing a doctor's visit.
Notwithstanding. I mean, honestly.
And well, speaking of which, but this is coming from Mark. So we recently went to a Brewers Cubs game. He and I and his 2 oldest kids. They'd never been to a game before, and so we went out there, and we were going to stop and first we went to tailgate, but
oh my gosh,
we tailgate again. So then I wanted to stop at a decent restaurant, and I don't know, we just got lost. The directions were really bad. So we ended up going to IHOP, and it was the worst pre-Brewers meal I've ever had in my entire life. They give you pancakes with everything, by the way. I didn't know that either. So it's hey, here's this bacon cheeseburger with mushroom cheese sauce all over, and a side of pancakes. So anyway, then I also saw that Adam Sandler had recently gone to an IHOP and had a really bad service experience, and they made like some sort of viral video or something about it. But ours was like pretty equal. Like the service was pretty slow. We were almost late for the game, and it was. I would just also recommend don't go to IHOP before a Brewers game.
Yeah, you don't want the International House of Pancakes. You want the National House. So you want to go to NHOP.
Exactly.
We do have a couple other comments here. Kathy Barman says that they could help you make the casing broth. So I think we have to have a challenge. We have to have a meat, like a meat cook-off, but maybe you choose your own meat. Like maybe it doesn't have to be a brat. Like that would make it more interesting. Like you could pick something that you love and are good at. Father Garrett could pick something that he loves and is good at. And somehow charity gets money. I don't know how that works, but that's how that'd be amazing. And I get to eat the food, right?
Exactly. You be the taster.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very kind. We'll have to figure that out.
Let's see. We got CJ Gron says College House Fellows was best.
Oh my gosh. So CJ, I think she works with Father Garrett right now, like doing faith formation stuff. But back in college, didn't she live on your floor, Father Scott?
No, she lived the floor right above me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
She was friends with people on my floor, so she came down a lot, and she saw me a lot. She didn't see you quite as often, though, Mark. I won't say why. You may have had other preoccupations.
What were those preoccupations, you sinner?
Hey, what happened about not casting stones first, man?
So, okay, but this is a little funny. So it was Mark's second year doing it. He was a little burnt out, and at the end of that year, my first year, his second year, there was a talent competition that win prizes as like a fun thing, and some of the guys on Mark's floor did a song that they had written all about how they didn't know who their RA or because they never saw him. He was never around. So it was something I had to take into consideration when I hired Mark here at Cross Plains. I was like, Mark, I might need to see you on occasion. I know you have a history.
You're just on the other side of the planet, is all.
Oh,
from
man.
Cottage Grove.
He was taking care of like other great important things. So it was what it was. But
yeah. No, hopefully I've grown a little bit as a human being and someone
as of last Tuesday.
Yeah, well, that too, right? No, yeah, but those were. It's hard to believe that was what.
Well, just speaking of other fun things, though, I mean, I've shared the story 1,000 times, but for everyone who's watching publicly, so when Ryan and his wife Monica were pregnant with their first child, Claire, Monica was working with Mark downtown, and I was doing an internship that summer, and so I was with Sister Jean, a beloved elderly sister who was doing homebound and hospital communion visits at the time. That morning, I got to the church, and Sister Jean is like, Monica's not here today. I bet she gave birth to her baby. I was like, okay, interesting. And, I barely knew Monica at the time. And, I think maybe I'd seen Ryan like 5 times in my entire life. And it was always passing or whatever. And so Sister Jean's like, well, we're going to go to the hospital and bring people communion. So, okay, I go with her. And we bring a couple of the elderly, people who are sick, communion in their beds and whatnot. But then Sister Jean decides that she's going to like walk up and down the entire hospital trying to find Monica, not even knowing for sure that she's there. And so she just started sticking her head into every room and is like, Monica. And Monica had just given birth to Claire. And so Ryan and Monica are holding their brand new baby. Nobody's seen them yet. Nobody's even known that Claire is born, like not even their families. And here's Sister Jean and I like popping in like, surprise, here we are. And one of the more awkward moments of my life. And at that point,
that was super special though. Like I can't remember what the timing was and if we did receive communion or not, but just like that coming in, like that was super special.
Yeah, I feel a little awkward about it still to this day, though.
I love that you feel awkward because it aside from us not seeing anybody else and just coming out of it or whatever, like that was a super special time. It was not awkward to us. It was kind of fun, and it creates a great story.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking I should probably mention, as long as we're all here. So Ryan and I go back. I mean, even though we grew up in the same town, we didn't really know each other back then. But
yeah, real quick, Bradford Pride. So
yeah, so
Red Devils. What was your mascot?
Trojans.
I guess both of our mascots were terrible.
Yeah, they're both
Yeah.
mildly inappropriate.
We had a lot of good shirts that were not appropriate though against you guys.
Yeah, it's so moving on.
No, I just want to live in this space where we feel awkward. It's great. Everyone's loving it. The numbers are going up.
So like Father Scott mentioned, I worked with Ryan's wife, Monica, at the church downtown at the Cathedral Parish. And we actually, so when they had Claire, their first child, me and Julie, our first child, Dominic, was born 6 days later. So, we kind of traveled through that pregnancy together. And then our first kids were 6 days apart. And then 10 years later, a couple years ago, we had, it was our fourth kid, but your sixth kid that, again, were born. Our son Leo was born 3 days before.
Yeah, you guys beat us. It was awesome.
Yeah. So it's crazy. So a decade apart, we had double baptisms downtown. That Monsignor Holmes, the priest downtown, was really happy to see that. So it's kind of wild, kind of the history we've had there. But
oh, it's awesome, and that story's fun too because Monica worked there for a hot minute. She worked at the diocese, and then she got the job downtown, and we went out to dinner. What's that?
She worked at the diocese?
Yeah, she was administrative assistant. I don't know if it was for a department or what. She did so much crazy stuff. Like we gotta give props to all of our administrative assistants. They asked her to coach, and she's like, "I can't. I'm coding a website over here." Like she would do insane things, like normal administrative assistants, like printing things and coordinating or whatever. And then it's like, can you create this for the website and develop it? And like she got crazy tasks, which is fun. When you have capable people, you can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But she has a theology degree. She got her MRS from Ave Maria College. But working downtown with Mark, and I can't remember. It was a little into 2008. We got married. So it was probably later that summer or fall. Mark, you might remember the timing a little bit better, but Monsignor took us all out to eat so that we could hang out. And it was kind of like the first time. I think maybe she started in that summer. So it was right after that. Yeah. Probably 12 weeks after our wedding, right?
Right. Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were at dinner, and right away, Monsignor, just a very charitable person. There's 5 of us there, and he's like, "All right, we'll start with 2 bottles of wine." So we get that, and we love wine, but pour some wine for Monica, myself, and Julie, and Mark, and we are pregnant. So like it's our first one too. And so we're like, okay, no lunch meat, no alcohol. Don't even look at, a trampoline. I don't know. We're just really weird about overly concerned about all the pregnancy stuff that they tell you. Mm-hmm. So I'm drinking my wine. I'm reaching over and drinking her wine. I don't remember, Mark, if you were doing that, but drinks kept coming out, and I picked up on it. I was like, because we were so hyper aware. I was like trying to hide for whatever reason. It was just early on that we weren't drinking. And then after we walked away, and this is like 2 bottles of wine and then maybe another bottle. And then everyone gets like the limoncello shots. I was trying to remember that restaurant. It was just Sammy's, right?
I don't even know. My senior knew the chef.
Yeah, it was like Mussels and Frites, and it was like his favorite place downtown, right off of State Street. Yeah. So and then those little shots come out. Monica's like, so good, and I'm like, drinking so much, trying to keep this ruse up, and then we're like walking away, and I'm like, Julie wasn't drinking anything either. They're totally pregnant, and sure enough, that's how we got Claire and Dom. I mean, we had Claire and Dom at that time, but we weren't telling anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And now they're in 6th grade together. So
yeah. Yeah, and you're right now at IHM because you have to give a puberty talk.
Super exciting, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
ready
it's like yeah. Well done. Yeah, you got to coach girls in volleyball. I get to talk to 4th and 5th grade boys about why they're growing hair in places they never had before.
Yeah, and they're gonna snicker and giggle. It'll be great.
It should be pretty fantastic. Yeah.
Speaking of beer, though, real quick, I just want to also give a shout out to John and his wife Amanda. This last September, I think it is, International Buy a Priest of Beer Day. They dropped off a bunch of beer here at the Rectory in Cross Plains, and really, it was a great gift. And none of my other good friends did that, so I just wanted to mention that publicly.
Wait a second. What was this? It was National Beer Day, and John and
No,
Amanda dropped off beer for you.
National Buy a Priest of Beer Day.
International. It's international. It's not just national. This is all around.
Is that like every Friday?
Yeah.
No, it's on Sundays, the day of the resurrection. Fridays are
Yeah, as far as I know, Father Scott invented that.
Yeah, it's probably Mondays, your day off, right? You don't want it before the weekend. You got a lot of work to do, so it's Mondays.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So-
no, it was just a random thing, and I think it was. I don't remember when you came over to Cross Plains, but it seemed like it was shortly after that, and we're just like, oh, I want, we should. It's a random thing that popped up. Amanda saw it, and she's like, we should go running around and drop off some beer.
Yeah,
You saw that it was like International Buy a Priest Beer Day.
Yeah.
Those things are posted on the internet all the times. John, don't you live kind of out by Cross Plains ish?
Yeah, I mean, I can see the steeple of St. Mary's in Pine Bluff from here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then Cross Plains is just a little.
It's just down the road, yeah.
Little hop, skip, and a jump from there.
Yeah, awesome.
I love that. We are live, everyone, so please do post your comments. We will answer them or answer the questions, even if they're awkward, especially if they're awkward, like Tootsie Roll or other things like that. Please do shout out. Father Garrett, he's got class to teach, so he's drinking bourbon.
I don't know how that correlates. Like,
no, it's great.
I've still got
I love it.
So going straight for the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's got a puberty talk to give. So.
Yeah, I mean, you need a little bit more of that, Father Scott.
Yeah, that's a good question. Back in, I think it's the fall of 2004. I'm aging myself. It's actually just a question to try to figure out how old I am. I know how that works.
That's great though? Like, I feel like we all no one could guess our ages. I don't know, and maybe that's just because we're getting older.
We look good.
But I mean, that's not what I'm saying. But we just don't have I feel like we all kind of have baby faces. Like we don't have facial hair or anything that really indicates our age. I feel like, hey, why don't you in the comments guess our ages? That'll be fun.
Well, we already done that.
Do our weights afterwards.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
Okay, so for those who are old enough, ASL, guess our age, sex, and location. Like an internet chat room.
Speaking of weight, though, Ryan, you've lost a lot of weight this last year. You're exercising all the time or eating better or something.
All of it. I mean, I eat all the food that I want. I do. The other night, 2 days ago, is ridiculous. At the end of the night, I was like, okay, I'm going to have a bar of chocolate. I'm going to have a little ice cream, and I'm going to have some popcorn because I needed specific macros. But I have lost in the last 3 months about 15 or 20 pounds. Just working on health. Yeah. What's that?
We should talk at some point because I think I put on those 15 to 20 pounds.
Yeah. It's reciprocity. So if somebody loses it, somebody else picks it up. So, but
I'm always
happy to talk about that.
Going, but the problem is Pope Francis said you can't be a Monsignor until you're 60. So it's just kind of frustrating. But I'm not going to get the title for another 20 years.
Well, doesn't Father Mike Schmitz, doesn't he work out? He looks pretty fit, that's a thing. It's for your health and longevity, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my trainer was a good Catholic dude, or is a good Catholic dude. He's gone. My program technically ends this week, so I can't afford to do it every month. So I'm going to jump in 2 more months. So I have a plan for the next 2 months. Yeah. But he's a great Catholic guy as well.
Wait, so you do it with a bunch of people?
What's that?
You do it with a bunch of other people?
Yeah, actually. So here's going to be a plug for my trainer, Luke Briggs, Briggs Fitness. That might not be it, but Luke Briggs, look him up. You can look me up too. I think he shared some stuff on Facebook recently, but it's fantastic. It's great, science-backed, community-based stuff. There's a great community. We check in every Wednesday and we talk about stuff and struggles. And, I'm kind of at the point where I get kind of annoying with stuff. Like we had a great discussion and, we share everything, but I'm like, here's my question. On the back of chicken or a burger, for instance, it says that there's 30 grams of fat. Well, I know when I grill that burger, there's constantly fat dripping and fire starting. So how much fat is actually in there? Is that the prepared or the pre-prepared macro or nutrient information? Basically, it's the before you prepare it. So then I had to research, like, how much fat do you lose when you grill? And depending on the fat content, like on a 90, let's see, on an 85-15, 85% lean, 15% fat. I don't know. I think that's what it is. You're going to lose like up to 30% of the fat when you grill it. So then I got to it too, like chicken on the back of the bag when it's in the freezer or fridge, it'll say 25 grams of protein per 4 ounces. When you cook chicken, it loses a lot of water. So how much water weight does it lose? So yeah, I'm kind of at the point where I'm doing weird, kind of measurements and analysis, and it's
on the back of every chicken I've ever looked at. I mean, there's just more feathers, and I don't know where you're getting this information, but
that's right.
Wait, do you have chickens, John? Do you guys raise chickens?
No, but it's
John. Can you please get eggs?
It's imminent. It's in my future. I can see it coming. I can't stop it.
How about I'll buy you like chicken feed once in a while.
Yeah.
And then I get eggs.
Yeah.
Seems like a fair bartering.
I mean, your children have to do all the labor, right?
Well, that would be the idea.
Because you're not going to do it. You're too busy working and doing
that's
your
why
house.
I try to. I mean, all these things that happen. I'm going to
step away just for a second. You keep going. Andrew is leaving. He's leaving for Utah and he's never coming back. So I'm just going to jump out real quick.
Okay.
I try. He could have like minimized his like thing or something or whatever.
It's like, does this guy run a media company or
he left like a huge hole in the screen? So I try to say I'm not gonna do the work with these things that like, oh, we want to get that pet. I'm not gonna, you want to get that thing? Yeah, sure. But I'm not gonna be responsible. I'm not gonna do it. And then I end up doing it. Although I haven't touched the snakes. Rowan's got 2 garter snakes. They're captivity raised. And the girls have dwarf bunnies. Two small rabbits.
Okay.
And I've successfully not done anything. I did have to hold them one time when they were cleaning the cage, but
can we get eggs out of those rabbits?
What's that?
Can we get eggs out of those rabbits?
Only before Easter.
Okay. Yeah. Not after.
And they're filled with a creamy center.
Yeah.
So speaking of chickens, I'm going to be taking a retreat here in June. I haven't had a chance to do that in a couple of years. I'm going down to Alabama where I did my retreat right before I was ordained a deacon. And when I was down there for my deacon one, I was kind of doing my retreat for like 5 days. I was going to fly back to Chicago, and there was really bad weather, so my flight got delayed an extra day. So I had like 1 day down there to do nothing. And they have some brothers that kind of run the place down there. And one of the brothers had a couple like high school age boys from like South America that were like discerning or I don't know, visiting or something. And they were wearing like these white dress shirts with like black dress pants. It kind of looked like they were, going to like a choir concert or something. But he made them run through the fields and like tackle chickens to try to catch them so that he could butcher them. And it was just like the most surreal, weird experience of my life. And then on top of that, then he we butchered all the chickens to like serve for dinner for all the people on retreat and everything there. But I always kind of felt like I was preparing to become an Old Testament priest with like animal sacrifices rather than a New Testament priest and everything like that. So I'm really excited to go back, but I'm kind of a little nervous too. Like, are they going to be like butchering chickens everywhere? And as they say,
Yeah.
these hands are made for chalices and not calluses. So I'm just not used to like manual labor and everything. So we're a little nervous about that.
That's your ulterior motive of John having chickens, right? You really
Yeah.
want to chase him around and
I'm gonna just
remember the old days.
Exactly.
Yeah, every few weeks or a few months or so, I'll just slaughter a chicken and leave it on your doorstep.
Speaking along those lines, so there's a great story from the seminary in Rome, the NAC, where I studied for a couple of years, about a priest, I think from Wisconsin, who was trying to teach some East Coast guys how to like do that. So they're up on the 5th floor, which overlooks St. Peter's Basilica, before evening prayer one day, and they're like butchering these chickens and like pulling the feathers off. And all of a sudden, they realize that they're going to be late for evening prayer, so they run to their rooms, change real quick, go to prayer. Meanwhile, the rector, the priest in charge of the entire seminary, is walking like prospective donors through the entire place. It's this bloody, feathery mess all over. And, at first, they're kind of like, are there some sort of like satanic things going on? Like, obviously your mind just goes to like really like worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. So it became a policy at the NAC that you were not allowed to slaughter live animals there just because we have a reputation to uphold there.
Yeah, the NAC. I don't know if you mentioned it, the North American College.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I love that. I love too hearing that story. And this is, I love our relationships. Like, I love being in your guys' lives and just hearing your past, where you came from, where you are, the challenges, where that you've had and that you are having. And sharing that together is awesome. And I love that we also share that with our families. Like, it's my favorite thing, Father, to have you over, because I want our kids to be around like a normal person, like a priest, right? So at Mass, it looks different, and they're up there and they're separate, and then they have to talk to 100 people, and it can be a different experience. But when you're over, you can joke around with us, you can goof around with the kids, you can show them just the human side, right? And for my boys, right, I want to see that in terms of vocation. I want them to see what it's like to be a real human being and be a priest. And then, it's similar like at Immaculate Heart of Mary. We've got the Sisters of Mary Morningstar, and they come over and visit. And bless you, I think that's just such a fun and fascinating thing for them. But it's also, I feel like it's also awesome for me and my wife just to be close to, I don't know, the priesthood or the ordained life in that regard. And it encourages us in our vocation, which is, I have a title here, conversion, vocation, and basketball, but it encourages us like in our vocation too, like, hey, yeah, we have struggles, but priests have struggles too. And they do these awesome things. So we should also be able to do awesome things as well. So I feel encouraged, even though our vocations are different, just in sharing life together. So that's, I appreciate that.
My biggest struggle is probably with one of my employees. He will go unnamed right now. Just sorry, I can't resist.
It rhymes with FARC.
It has to do with
Marc Laudonio.
No, but I think you're right, Ryan. And one of the great blessings as a priest is to be able to get involved in people's lives and to be able to go and spend time, with all of your families and to get to know your wives and to get to know your kids and whatnot. And I always think that the church is best when we have, obviously good priests, we have good sisters, and good married people and just lay people living their vocations, and we all complement one another. And in those days when I get discouraged or I'm just overwhelmed, and I realize that Mark is trying to run 3 kids in different directions, like music practices and sports practices or whatever, and or I'm having a day where I'm like, why am I doing all that I'm doing? And I hear what John and Amanda are doing with their kids, or you and Monica are doing with yours. it encourages me. So I think once again, we mutually help one another when we're living our vocations well. And it doesn't mean that we're all perfect. We're not saints yet. They're not handing out little prayer cards with our picture on. But I think the goal is to keep striving for that, to keep striving to grow in holiness, to grow in authentic love of God and others. And I think we spur one another on just by trying to live the life that God calls each of us to, but to the best of our ability with his help.
Monica loves that too. She mentions it anytime we're kind of around people together. Just that comment you made, but it's so true. Our kids are crazy. I mean, adults are crazy too, but like their energy is so much. And like when you come over, they're like, flip me, hold my hands and flip me, and then let's run, and I'm gonna punch you, and like all these things. And we're like, okay, well, let's respect him a little more. He's a priest, but they're still crazy, and that you still interact with them and have fun. But at the end of one night at like 9:00, you're like, hey, I got to go. I think it might have been a Saturday. You're like, I got to get up early and just prepare for mass and things like that. And he's like, our kids had just had dessert and were running around crazy. And you just said, thank you for confirming me in my vocation. And we love that, so much, because it's like the same thing. Like you're saying, thank you for, the work that you do, and how that reflects on me and what I do. And I think of that too, like with what you do, like, we're called to different things, right? Like that's the idea of this vocation, or the idea of vocation. And I appreciate that, that you said that. And it's just so clear that we're called to different things. We're called to do different things. And it's not necessarily that we're always great at it, but if we listen to that call, it should be worthwhile and fulfilling.
Absolutely. I recently was visiting my sister down in Indiana. Her and my brother-in-law have 8 kids, and it's great being the priest, being an uncle, kind of in those roles. You just get to go and spoil and sugar kids up, and then you get to leave. I went down there, and I brought a bunch of sugar, of course, a bunch of candy, and then a bunch of cookies. And I have 7 nieces and 1 nephew. And I got like this large Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you press a button on the back, it like roars and its fangs show and its tongue sticks out and it like makes this noise. And so my little nephew thought it was awesome. And he's just like running around chasing all of his sisters with it. And they're like screaming and running away. And then I got them this gumball machine, and they're like eating like 7 pieces of gum at the same time and trying to steal all of them from their other sisters, and just all the things that kids do. And it was so awesome. I loved all of them. I love all of them, just like I love all of your kids as well. But it was just, once again, I totally came back after 24 hours, and I was like, you know what? I definitely am a celibate priest, and like I'm ready to just like have to be quiet and everything. So I really am in awe of all of you who are married with kids. It's not easy raising kids, especially in this day and age. And I just think, especially the 3 of you on the screen here, I think you guys are all doing a remarkable, admirable job. And I just really am in awe of the work that you're doing, because at the end of the day, I still get to go home to a quiet house where you don't. You all go home to like to-do lists and the kids running around and screaming. And yeah, it is what it is.
Well, at the end of the day, there was a friend of mine one time years ago he was kind of in the discernment phase, and he was trying to decide, where he thought he was called, and he was talking about marriage and said something about how, he's like, I'm not sure, I'm not sure if I could handle all the sacrifice or whatever. And I kind of laughed at him. I was like, I'm pretty sure whatever vocation you land in, you're going to be called to sacrifice. I was like, if you don't think a priest is sacrificing, that's just kind of the punchline of it, is like, it doesn't really matter. Like everybody, like what we're called to is to sacrifice, like we're giving our lives for something else that's like outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's super hard. Like I was actually talking to somebody earlier this morning even, and I was talking about, love. We love to talk about love, but love is really hard to live. When I have to come out of myself and I have to die to myself and I have to give myself away whether it be to my spouse and my kids or to my parishioners. We all kind of struggle with kind of these moments where we just want to close in on ourselves, but kind of giving and giving, giving to sacrifice over and over, and to recognize to live an authentically human life is to live a life of sacrifice. And not to a point that it breaks us per se, but just in a way that's continually stretching us and calling us out of ourselves. And it's actually, when we do that, that's where we find fulfillment. But it kind of goes so against kind of our fallen human nature, where we kind of want to be comfortable all the time and do what's easy and things like that.
Right. Yeah. And I'm listening to this book on health right now. And it's fascinating because I don't know the Christian status of this author, but I feel like we've kind of cornered the market on sacrifice and that type of thing, and willpower, sacrifice, and giving something up for something better is so unique and somewhat countercultural right now. So, we're called in our faith, like, as you know. Oh no. Oh, Luke or Mark's jumping on his phone because his computer's dying. Here we go. Turn it sideways, Mark. Can you do that for me? We'll get a wide angle. Oh no, it doesn't work, does it, John? You tried it that one time.
It does work, but you've got to. What's going on now? He's got something wild happening.
Oh, you know what? Let me try this.
It does work. You've got to turn it, and then you actually have to like move the page up because it's not like mobile optimized or something. And then you also have to have your phone set to, rotate itself.
There it is. Yeah. We got it. You're back. Oh no, I screwed it up.
But you're sideways.
We're live.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Now you got a flat top.
Sacrifice that computer. I hope you weren't using that computer in order to give your talk. But Mark will come back in when he's in.
I don't need that.
Yeah. Okay, we got you. So that idea of sacrifice and willpower and discipline are so important.
Yeah.
You're in. Yeah. There you go. You're a little janky. We'll make it work.
I'm sorry.
Sacrifice, willpower, discipline are so important. I feel like we've kind of cornered the market, and not in a bad way, but in a good way, because there's a lot of data out there that says, let's see, I'm trying to paraphrase what I just read, but operating under discipline and executing your willpower, using your willpower to stave off gratification, will statistically make you more successful, more healthy, live longer, like all this stuff. And it kind of comes down to like, I want that ice cream. Okay, well, let me give it 10 minutes. I acknowledge that I want that ice cream, but I'm going to not let that desire control me. Right. And we as Catholics obviously have a lot of training or, a lot of teaching in that regard. But now the health folk are also kind of catching up and being like, no, disciplining your mind, disciplining your body, all of that is going to make you more successful, make you more healthy, and do better. So it's fun listening to this book. And I'm like, yeah, we've been doing that for a couple thousand years. Like I know when I fail at health or faith, it's because of discipline or pride. And overcoming that means that I'm going to be a better father. I'm going to be a better, child of God. I'm going to be a better business person. And hopefully I can live a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how, there's a big kind of movement right now in like the health industry all with this intermittent fasting. And it's kind of funny in the sense that the church is once again for a couple thousand years that, obviously in the church's understanding, it's to do it for the higher good of like deeper spiritual union with God or growth and virtue. Wherein like the health industry is more just kind of being physically fit. But it also speaks to the fact that once again, we believe as Catholics, our bodies and our souls are intimately united, and what we do in one affects the other and vice versa. So to your point, I agree with you, Ryan. And I think that, you look at as well, like as Christians, we're called to be disciples. And, the word discipline is connected to disciple. And so just to live a well-ordered life is to not be militant in discipline for the sake of discipline, but to be disciplined for the sake of something greater, namely generosity, authentic love, goodness, being able to kindness, entering into other people's lives. And, it really flies in the face of our culture, which is just, obviously built on like modern advertising for the last few decades here, where, we're kind of inundated or bombarded with all of this advertising saying, just do this now and just give into this desire here. And, in a sense, wanting to enslave us to kind of every desire that we have, where, the church really holds up a vision saying, no, like you need to ask questions about every desire we have. Is this desire actually a desire that's authentically human, and is it from God? And is it going to lead me to a place of virtue and into deeper relationship? Or if I give into this desire, is it actually just going to continue to enslave me in a way that prevents me from living kind of on a higher plane, so to speak?
So we're at about 1 hour, or excuse me, 1:17 p.m. The time got away from me. I have a lot more questions, so we'll have you guys back in a little bit. But I did want to do two more things before we're done. I wanted to hear Father. Oh, Mark's gone. He's like, I'm out. Screw this. I did want to hear kind of that moment of your conversion and what you did in Colorado. Who you met, who you talked to. That's a super fun part of your story. And then I think we can do it right after that. Do a two truths and a lie. Just so that we can get to know each other a little bit better. So while Mark's away, the rest of us will play. He's back.
Dun, dun, dun.
Is he? Yeah. So tell me that part of your story, Father. You were considering Catholicism, and where'd you go and what'd you do?
Yeah, so I'm living in Denver. I moved out there right after college once again, and I'm living in Denver proper and counseling kids that were part of this nonprofit where they came from really broken families, and they were they were living there and going to school during the day, and then we would work with them at night with social workers and psychiatrists and all that. And so doing some good work and everything, but it was a secular kind of job and still really wrestling with big questions of faith. I had kind of spent the last few years with Mark in the evangelical world, and really was wrestling with just the big questions of, obviously there are a bunch of different churches. Some religious scholars have said there's 30,000 different types of Christian denominations, with obviously holding a lot in common, but also differences. That's why there's 30,000 and they're not all one. And really wrestling just with some big questions in terms of what church goes back to the time of Christ and the apostles, and what do we believe about communion? What do we believe about who should be baptized? What should we believe about particular moral issues? And how do you kind of think through that? And once again, they're just, all these different persuasions, all these different arguments, and they would use different scripture verses or other arguments to kind of, try to argue their position. And, in the end, it's like, well, how do you sort through all of this? And so when I was in college, right before I moved out to Denver, that year that Mark and I were RAs or house fellows, there was a Catholic girl on my floor, and we had engaged in a lot of conversations just about some of the similarities and differences between Catholicism and Protestant Christianity. And so I'm living in Denver and just still wrestling with kind of some of these things and trying to figure out the next step in my life. And all of a sudden one day, as I'm kind of sitting at this coffee shop, just kind of with all these kind of questions I've been thinking about over the course of a couple of years, and like little notes, I've like scribbled a thing if I'd read, an interesting passage, either theologically or historically or scripturally, and like a little note, like if I had a Phoenix or a napkin at the time, I'd write it on that. If I had like a piece of paper, a post-it note, I'd write it on that. So I kind of had all these things laid before me at this coffee shop, and I just like had this moment where I'm like, I think the Catholic Church is kind of what I'm looking for. I think there's the theology there satisfies all these questions, which was really kind of hard for me to come to grips with. I didn't expect myself to be there. And so I thought, well, I need to go to a Catholic Mass and kind of like see all this and figure it out. And is the Catholic Church what it claims to be? And so the only Catholic church I knew at the time was downtown, and I would drive by it all the time. I was living down there, and it was the cathedral. So I went to a Sunday evening Mass at the cathedral, and I sat in the back. I had Catholic sensibilities. You didn't want to get too close to the altar, even back then. And kind of just taking everything in and watching everybody else stand and kneel and cross themselves and all of that. And I'm like, all right, I need to talk to a priest. And so as everyone's leaving after mass ends, the church is being closed up and locked up, and I waited till pretty much everyone was gone. And sorry, I talk with my hands. You can tell I lived in Italy for some time. But anyway, I kind of am leaving, and I see somebody at the back of church, and I go up. I'm like, are you a priest? Do you work here? Can I talk to you? And it was Archbishop Chaput, Charles Chaput, who was the Archbishop of Denver at the time, wearing the bishop's mitre and the crozier and all that. And, not having been fully immersed in the Catholic world, I didn't know what bishops dressed like. And
you're like, are you a janitor? What's with this?
What is that giant is that to like beat all the people away who are like trying to rob it? But
are you corralling sheep? What's going on here?
Exactly, or chickens, maybe corralling chickens. But anyway, so we ended up getting together over the course of the next few months, and confirmed me, and after answering a bunch of my questions, and at that point I was a confirmed practicing Catholic, and I wasn't married, and it seemed that I needed to kind of wrestle with the whole seminary question at that point, and so I did, and Bishop Morlino, the Bishop of Madison at the time, graciously accepted me. I have a really fun story. Can I share that story real quick too? The first time I met Bishop Morlino.
Yeah.
So we had seminarians studying in Denver at the time. So I contacted the vocations office back here. They said, Bishop Morlino is going to be in Denver. I was living in the mountains the second year at that point. So can you drive down from the mountains, meet Bishop Morlino, and you'll go to dinner and he'll talk to you? Yeah, absolutely. So I had this red Dodge Neon that I'd been driving in the mountains of Colorado, and I would hit like patches of ice and snow, and so the entire front bumper is like falling off of this car, and I have like duct tape holding it together. And so I park as far away as humanly possible from the seminary because I don't want the bishop to see like this go-kart I'm driving, more or less, and just like write me off, like this guy can't enter the seminary. And so I park and I walk all the way up to the seminary, and I meet Bishop Morlino, and we're gonna go to dinner, and I just presume he's got a rental car. And he's like, Scott, you don't mind driving, do you? And I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. So I have to figure out how I'm going to like approach the car with Bishop Morlino from the back so he can't see all the duct tape holding the bumper together. Anyway, we get in the car, and there's just no way he sees the car as a disaster, but he gets in. And then this was right before everyone started to have GPS devices. So he had printed off MapQuest directions to this restaurant.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
But they gave us wrong directions, so we got lost like 3 or 4 times, and we're like doing like Y turns and like back alleys and everything. When we finally get to the restaurant, I'm so embarrassed by all of this. And then he insists that I take my car to the valet to have them park it. And I'm like, Bishop, we're gonna have to leave a tip that's like greater than what the car's value is worth to have them park this car. But he's just like, nope, this is what we're gonna do, Scott. And anyway, we did that. We had dinner, and the rest is history. But it's kind of a very funny.
That's awesome. So Mark is gone. He's gone forever, at least until next time. His phone died. His computer died. It's the first time he's been on the internet, apparently. But that's fantastic. No,
he doesn't have electricity where he lives.
Right. Yeah, he usually uses a typewriter here with a quill pen for most of his work.
I'm amazed that you allow him to continue on that typewriter.
Well, I left him in the basement only so often, but anyway.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We got a couple minutes left. Often we will do 2 truths and a lie, and we will all say 2 truths and a lie, but I want to respect your time and everybody's time at home. If you do have questions, you can throw them in there. We can maybe get to 1 or 2 afterwards. But we didn't give you any time to think about it, so I want to give you a second to think about your 2 truths and a lie, 2 truths and a lie. We're going to then see who gets them right. So you're going to tell us 3 different stories very briefly.
I bet he doesn't need time. He seems like the kind
you probably don't need time. Yeah.
He can come up with lies very fast.
2 of your truths, or excuse me, you'll tell 3 stories. 2 of them are truths. 1 is a lie, and we have to figure out, and the people watching at home have to figure out which one is the lie. And anyone who gets it right I'm going to write your name down, and you're going to get some backflip swag. We're actually making coasters, so it's very appropriate for a happy hour to have coasters. So if you get it right, you will get a coaster. So continue to interact and guess below. What I can do our other wrap up while you're thinking.
I'm good.
You know it? Oh, that's good. Yeah, I figure you got to have a good memory as a priest. So
okay, here we go. 3 stories, right?
All right, 3 stories. One is a lie. Who knows?
Okay, the first is I was flying to California where my aunt used to live when I was in middle school with my family. And when we were there, I ran into Kevin Bacon at the airport, which I thought was really ironic given, there's that whole 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing. And I felt like I was now going to be like 1 degree away from him and be able to be used in that whole thing. So I was really excited about it with all my friends back in the day. And I just kind of thought, I'm not going to be a part of every story. So that's one story. The second is when I was in 5th grade, I was practicing like 3/4 long shots for basketball, like standing like at one end of my driveway and just like, time's expiring. You have to whip the ball from one end of the court to the other. And if you do that, you make it, all the fame and glory and all that. So I did that and I let go of a shot. And as soon as I let go of it, I knew it was going to be an air ball. So I start running after it. It hits the pole like dead on, bounces back. I trip on it and I knock myself unconscious in the driveway. And my mom wonders where I'm at because it's time to have dinner. And my sister says, "Oh, he's just playing dead in the driveway." And my mom comes out, I'm like knocked unconscious.
Oh my gosh.
And then the third one is back when I was in college at UW, one of the players who played on UW, the UW basketball team, the Badgers basketball team, I actually bought Bucky Badger boxer shorts for as a Christmas gift. And I think he may have worn them someday.
Say that last one again.
So one of the players on UW's basketball team, I bought Wisconsin Badger boxer shorts for him as a Christmas gift, and I think he may have worn them one day. So I bought underwear for a basketball player on the Badgers.
These are great. I'm thoroughly impressed in your skill at this game, and also a little bit scared. Remind me not to play, Mafia with you, or like One Night Werewolf?
Exactly.
I think you would destroy us. So please do guess at home. Let us know what you think. So the first one is flying to Colorado. You ran into Kevin Bacon at the airport.
California.
I wrote that down wrong. Fun fact, what am I, 3 degrees away? I acted in something in college with a woman who went on to act in something else that somebody he acted in with was in. So 1, 2, 3. I'm 3 degrees away. It counts. And number 2, 5th grade, practicing long shots of basketball, air ball. You ran, tripped yourself, knocked yourself unconscious. That's amazing. UW, and third one is UW basketball team bought Badger shorts, underwear for somebody on the team, and they may have worn them. You don't know.
I didn't ask.
Yeah. All right, John, what are you thinking here? And at home, let us know what you think. You can win swag. I tell you what, anyone at home, if you answer, I'm going to write your name down and you'll all get swag. Oh, no. I can't hear you. Can you hear him? There you go. You're back.
I feel like I've heard the Kevin Bacon story before, but that doesn't mean that it's a lie. It seems like the one that would be the lie. But, and just thinking about how crafty you are. The other two are like local personal stories, and then the Kevin Bacon one seems like there's no way. I'm gonna say the underwear basketball player.
All right, so you're guessing number 3. We've got a couple guesses in here. Guess what? Meg, you win some swag. We can hook you up with more than just a coaster, too.
Also, your guess doesn't count because they're 1, 2, and 3, not ABC.
First of all, second of all, third of all. 1, 2, and 3. So we'll call that a 1. Father Garrett says KO'd is not true. That's a good one, too. I figure I'm going to go with number 2 as well, just because it seems like a story that somebody's told you. And I would love for it to be Mark's story and not yours. And I think you would totally buy some underwear for a basketball team member. That's the one you picked, right, John?
Yeah, that's what I picked. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the flying to California ran into Kevin Bacon. It's not super relative, so it seems like a random story that you're telling. So John picked number 3. I picked number 2, knocking yourself unconscious. Father Garrett, number 2. Meg, number 1. Anybody else? You have like 5 seconds to get your vote in. We do have like 10 people or 8 people watching live right now. So you got 10 more seconds to let us know your
They're all my
guess.
relatives, I'm sure.
What's that? Yeah.
They're all my relatives, I'm sure.
This is fun. No, it's fun too because it's like other friends that we like to hang out with that watches all this stuff and interact. So it's so much fun. So we've got, let's see. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this wrong. Daisy?
Yeah, Daisy.
A-
Hi, Daisy.
All right. So we've got a little bit of everything. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Chris, let's see. We got another answer. Chris, well, I got to write these names down. Says number 1. There's a lot of people who say number 1. All right, Father. What is it? What's the lie?
The answer is I never ran into Kevin Bacon in an airport.
Oh, wow. So Daisy, Chris, Meg,
It was too easy.
you all got it. Do you know somebody who did, or did you just make that up?
I just made it up.
Nice. All right. Sorry, I'm writing this down. It makes for really good TV when I'm writing stuff down. So I'll do this after.
See, I feel like I've heard the story before, but I don't think I've ever played 2 truths and a lie with you. So
Yeah,
did you lie to me before? Or
sorry, John. Somebody else has told you the same lie then. I'm sorry.
it could be, yeah.
So you knocked yourself out, huh? That's nuts.
Yeah, so sorry. I literally knocked myself out. My sister just saw me there, left me, and just like, 10 minutes later, my mom's like, "Where's your brother?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, he's just laying in the driveway pretending he's dead." My mom comes out. I have to like go to the hospital, have a CAT scan. Like I missed a couple days.
Oh my gosh.
It was pretty rough, and literally, still this day, I'm like, my sister was just gonna let me like stay there until the vultures started picking at my flesh or something.
And then you sent underwear to a basketball player.
Yeah, so one of the basketball players went to my high school, and my freshman year at UW, he was still in, or maybe it was even my sophomore year, he was still in high school, and he was on his way to come to UW to play on a scholarship, and his mom wanted to get him UW Badger boxer shorts as a Christmas gift. And so his mom knew somebody who was friends with my family, and long story short, like through 4 different connections, I got asked to go to the UW bookstore and buy like boxer shorts with Bucky Badger's face on for this basketball player that eventually played for the Badgers and was pretty successful for them. I don't want to say who it was because it's kind of embarrassing, but I did buy him underwear, and I always wondered like when he was dunking if he was wearing the boxers that I bought him.
That's awesome. It's probably the only way that we win is when we buy our favorite athletes' underwear, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, it's 1:35, so that's our time. I do want to give you a second if you have anything you want to promote. I mean, you guys are doing awesome stuff out there in Cross Plains. Is there anything you wanted to share? You guys have anything coming up soon?
Not really. I think just the one thing is obviously this coming Sunday is Pentecost. And so I think we just obviously want to pray that all of us open ourselves back up to the Holy Spirit and live a life, in cooperation with Him. If you've never seen before, go on YouTube and type in Pentecost and Pantheon in Rome, where they have videos of all the rose petals falling from the hole in the Pantheon, which kind of symbolize the tongues of fire falling down upon the early church. Is one of the things I miss a lot from Rome. It's just really, really beautiful. But yeah, other than that, you're always welcome to visit us in Cross Plains. I'd love to have you come and stop by and join us for a mass, or just stop in the office sometime. And Mark and I would love to just kind of hang out with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And coming up, we've got, let's see, next week, Brent and Peggy Hoffman. Then after that, the guys from Huga Health, also that company that I should write down. Onesies. Oh, Father Scott. Oh, I'm totally going to buy you a onesie, an adult onesie from this company. What's it called, John?
Forever Lazy.
Forever Lazy. Yes, that would be amazing. That would be a great Christmas present
Maybe
that
we
I
could
feel
get
like you'd keep
Mark
around.
instead. I think that more depicts his personality.
You and Mark will have the same one, I think, and then you'll have to wear them together to the Christmas party. we'll get a collar on it. So we got the Huga Health and Forever Lazy group coming up, and then Apache Danforth, who works with Paradigm, and then shortly after that, we'll actually have Rob Perro, the namesake of Paradigm. He'll be coming in and hanging out with us. That's what we got. Do you have anything else, John, you wanted to share?
I'm fresh out.
I ask this every time. It's like you're unprepared. Can't tell. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Father. Thank you, Mark, for joining us as well. Sorry, your computer ran out. You got older, couldn't make it charge or whatever. This was a blast. Like I said before, we got so far, and I didn't ask a lot of the questions I wanted to. So we'll save those for part 2 when we have you guys back. That'll be awesome. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Here, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye.